They face off tonight in a huge game. Now, not everyone's available to play in the game, but you and I both have the Nets winning the East. However, of late, there's been some questions from you about whether or not the Nets are going to win the East. What are the three key things that would hold them back from winning the East?
Now I'm going to show you how the East Coast rocks. That graphic looks awesome. We got the best team in the game. Thank you, everyone. Number one is health. If the Brooklyn Nets are healthy, they will win the East, and they're going to be a formidable foe legitimately to win the championship. James Harden looked like an MVP whether Kyrie or KD was in or out. Kyrie is top 6 in the league in scoring, and like I said, his left hand needs its own league pass channel. And that guy right there, Iceberg Slim shooting trades from the suburbs, when I get confused and want to pick another team, I say whoever has Kevin Durant is going to win the East. However, there's something that Kevin Durant probably doesn't want to have to do, and that's the number 2 thing on this list, and that's guard physical bigs. How they're going to play against those guys like, say, Joel Embiid, who's playing bully ball with the best of them. Oh, Giannis, he's only the back-to-back reigning MVPs whose numbers comparable to him winning it and has unlocked his passing and now getting you triple-doubles. You saw a glimpse of that with Andre Drummond and the Lakers. If they can't defend the bigs, LaMarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin, they'll be on the sideline. So that means KD and Jeff Green up front, not big enough, not bulky enough to stop those bigs. And finally, chemistry. You're putting a lot of things in the gumbo in 1 year, Jacoby. You know, I do a lot of cooking. I masquerade as a chef. You know, you're trying out seasonings. You're trying out broths. You're trying out all types of stuff to put in there. They got a new coach, Steve Nash. They got a new assistant coach and Mike D'Antoni. All of the new bought-out players that just joined the team. Their big three has only played together 7 times this year. They're going to have to get their chemistry together quick, especially going against opposing teams like Boston, who have chemistry. Bucks, Sixers also have chemistry. These are the teams that you got to pay attention to as the playoffs progress. So the Nets, yes, they're the favorite in the East, but only if all 3 of those things come true.
Well, Jalen, you're such a good analyst. That's why it's such a pleasure to do this show with you. And you're right about their defending against the bigs and their sort of crunch time lineup with Kevin Durant and Jeff Green in the front court and how are they going to stand up against some of the big, great players in the East. You're right about the chemistry. They haven't played together. But all I care about is number 1. If they're all 3 of them are healthy, I don't care if they play game 1 of the first round together for the first time. If all 3 of their big guys are healthy, Harden, Durant, and Kyrie, are you picking against them in any series?
I'm not gonna be able to do it. Can you
That's
do
really
it?
what it comes down to.
I'm not gonna be able to do it.
I mean, honestly, I don't think there's ever been a game where Blake, LaMarcus, Harden, Kyrie, and Durant have all been available. And I don't care if they're not available until game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. I would not pick against
Claxton
this
giving
team.
them good minutes. Joe Harris is one of the best knockdown catching shooters in the game. Like, they're legitimate.
One of the best young players in the game, probably going to be future Rookie of the Year. A gentleman by the name of Anthony Edwards. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of turmoil in Minneapolis and Minnesota of late. And one of the things that happened were the Timberwolves were bought out. And one of the part of the ownership group is a gentleman by the name of Alex Rodriguez, who we all know very well. Well, Anthony Edwards was asked about Alex Rodriguez. Joining us later on the show is a gentleman who has bars. Action Bronson joins us later, but we start with the Los Angeles Clippers up against the Pacers. And look at our guy, Miles Turner, rocking what he rocks when he comes into the game. Jalen, what jersey's that?
Appreciate the love, Miles. Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Way to represent. I'm truly humbled that an NBA player would show up at a game with my jersey on. I appreciate the love.
Well, it was the Clippers jerseys that were having a game last night, specifically Paul George. The Clippers have now won 6 in a row. Paul George looks like the MVP candidate Paul George from a couple years ago. Are we underestimating just how good this team is and how they could end up in the NBA Finals?
Just think about this. The Indiana Pacers at one point in time drafted Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Now they're both playing with the Clippers. One of those guys is playing outstanding right now, and that's Paul George. And playing through his injury, attacking the basket. When he did the dunk over Isaiah Stewart the other night, that was an exclamation point to me to how his confidence in game has continued to grow. Because that play reminded me of when he was playing against the Miami Heat in the playoffs and he got the big dunk and LeBron gave him that. That's the Paul George we're seeing now. He's overcome some injuries in his career. He's also overcome some mental hurdles. And the entire Clippers team overcame struggling in the bubble and not meeting expectations last year. So now when I look at them up front, Jacoby, they have Zubac giving them great minutes. They have Mook Morris basically shooting 45, almost over 45% from three. They're going to get Serge back. The Clippers have now become the second most formidable foe, when healthy to me, to the Los Angeles Lakers in the Western Conference race.
I agree. When you listen to media people talk about them, when you listen to your friends and fans talk about them, people forget about these Clippers. This roster is not that different than the roster that everyone had winning the championship last year easily. I think the stink of their bubble performance has kind of followed them through the season. But as you mentioned, Ibaka's going to come back. They've added Rondo. We all know about playoff Rondo. Paul George is playing great, and Kawhi Leonard is going to be back soon. This is a very formidable team in the Western Conference. Now we turn our attention to a team in the Eastern Conference that has played under expectations except of late, and that is the Boston Celtics, who played late in Portland against a formidable Trailblazer opponent and looked really good. Jalen, what do you see from the Celtics?
I think Jason Tatum is cheating. I think right before he takes the court, he gets a haircut in the locker room. He stayed crispy, just like his game. And offensively, where he's grown, Jacoby, is he's able to drive to the basket and play through contact. You see him driving now, he'll knock the defender's arm off and he'll actually go dunk on you. He wasn't necessarily doing that earlier in his career. And being able to do that, I think now has really opened up his step-back jump shot. And his three-point shot continues to improve. And Jaylen Brown is that Swiss Army knife that's going to guard multiple positions, going to give you that toughness, but also is an improved offensive weapon. Those two are all NBA caliber players. You know what you're going to get from them. That's why they're going to still be a tough out in the playoffs. But the question and the key is what's going to happen with their backcourt. Marcus Smart, all-world defender, and actually their best passer. When you see how he plays with toughness and his body type, you underestimate that he's a really good passer, and he gives you the intangible plays. See, those three guys are going to be out there at the end of the game. The fourth guy is him, Kemba Walker. When he's scoring 20 points a game like he did last night, that's what now makes them on the perimeter a formidable foe against any team in the Eastern Conference. And who's going to play the minutes at the five has been a key. Time Lord has been holding it down for them so far.
Robert Williams III, Time Lord, has been playing well, and he's been inconsistent. But when he's good, there are flashes of someone who can be a true starter and minutes earner in this league for the Boston Celtics. Now, when we talk about the East, you have to talk about the two top teams.